Hey guys, my name is Matamil, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formats out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Prem, and it is, are you disappointed with the size of Fallout 4's map? Someone was able to run from one side to the other in only 11 minutes. I also had this knee-jerk reaction. The fact that the Skyrim map, a game that's been out for a very long time now, is larger than the Fallout 4 map was initially a little disappointing. I figured that they would go bigger. Then I thought to myself, wow, you are being a gigantic hypocrite. You know that bigger does not always mean better, and for a lot of games, that's especially true. Even when you look over at Skyrim, it's a prime example. Even though I adore that game, there is a lot of empty space. Sure, it's massive, but there's not necessarily a crazy amount of events happening all over the place. There's mountains that you can't even really traverse over. You have to go around it, and that's just dead space and expands upon this quote-unquote massive map. And so I'm assuming that with Fallout 4, there's just going to be more to do in a smaller area. We don't even know about the different vaults that we're going to be able to traverse in. They might be massive. That's not on the map. We don't know how much of explorable area is going to be with regard to buildings. If you looked at the leak footage, there was a lot of giant buildings out in the distance, which I'm assuming you're going to be able to explore. And so I wouldn't worry too much about the map size. As long as it's well balanced and well paced and there's plenty of things to do in this map, I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. The one critique that I could see coming from this, though, is if there's too many events going on in a small area. If you're stumbling across something new every 10 feet, it's gonna feel more like you're on a carnival ride or you're in a video game, and it's gonna break that realistic immersion that you're expecting from a role-playing game. This is one great thing about Skyrim's massive map, or something like Witcher 3. There was still a lot to do, it felt well-paced, but because the map was large enough, it made it feel like it was this realistic world that you were delving on into. And so while it is way too early to tell if that's gonna be a problem in Fallout 4, we kinda have to trust Bethesda on this. They are amazing at creating worlds and making sure that it is well paced, and so I don't really have any worries here. Really, the only worry that I have is with that voice, or with the facial animations. If you saw the trailer, the animations for talking was bad. It was really bad. Like, that's one thing that might break the immersion there, but that's the only critique that I've gotten from all of these reveals or with the leaks. And so I'm not really worried. I'm gonna wait for the reviews to come out because I still have faith that the map is going to be plenty big. The next question is, what are your thoughts on Overwatch not being a free-to-play game and being sold for $40? Honestly, this was probably the best way that Blizzard could have handled things. I know that a lot of people were hoping that this is going to be a free-to-play game where all of the heroes or characters would have been free and then cosmetic items would have been sold through microtransactions, but that would have been a bit of a risk for Blizzard. I know that some people will say, oh, well, Valve does it. They're a huge company. They did it with like Dota 2 and Team Fortress 2. But you also have to remember, like, Valve is like in their own league. They can do whatever the hell they want and still make a ridiculous amount of money, and I'm assuming that is something that Blizzard doesn't want to risk. And so overall, I think that this $40 price tag is going to be good. It keeps cheaters away. I mean, this is something that even Counter-Strike has a problem with. Every time that Counter-Strike goes on sale, cheaters skyrocket through the roof because they pick up the game for like $5, they buy like 20 keys or something like that, and then they just go through all of those keys for a couple of hours, and it gets really frustrating. And so the fact that it is at this $40 price tag is going to deter those people. It's also going to make sure that we have access to all of the heroes. If you've ever watched a live streamer play this game, you know that you need to have access to all of the heroes. It's an integral part of the game to be able to bounce through them throughout the match. And so overall, I don't think that this is going to be a negative. One thing that I am keeping my eye on, though, is the way that they monetize it in the future. A thing that a lot of people are worried about is that, yeah, they've been talking about only the base game right now for the $40, but they haven't talked anything after that. They've been very specific that this $40 only gives you the base 21 heroes. Well, what happens when they start adding in new heroes? You know that they're going to do that. Is it going to be behind a paywall? Are you going to add in microtransactions? Is it going to be a DLC? Because that is going to have a direct impact on how the game plays out. And so I'm interested to see how things progress from here. I'm really excited about Overwatch. I cannot wait to get my hands on it, but I'm crossing my fingers that they don't do something stupid and have a $40 game and then start adding in a bunch of microtransactions later on. Like, I just do not think that that would be a step in the right direction. The next question for the day comes from Turbo, and it is, I recently watched the video on the special game modes DICE added for us on the CTE, and you talked about the game already having too many game modes. What if DICE did a thing like a Party Friday where they implemented these game modes but only for a day? Similar to League of Legends Earth game mode or Hexakill, but every week there could be a different game mode that we could experience. What are your thoughts? That is an amazing idea. If you guys aren't aware, if you're out of the loop, on the CTE about a week ago, we had access to a bunch of superiority game modes. There was Jeep superiority, tank superiority, there was even skid loader superiority, and for the most part, a lot of them were a lot of fun. This was all in celebration of Battlefield 4's birthday, which I think it was like October 29th, something like that. It was great. It was really fun for everyone involved. But one of the things I know some people were upset by was that this was only available to the CTE. If you did not have premium or if you played on console, you could not experience the amazingness that was Jeep or tank superiority. And so if DICE was able to find a way to add in one of these cool game modes like every other weekend or every weekend, that would be awesome. It would honestly probably be a fun way just to get people back into playing Battlefield 4. If there was, let's say, a random game mode where everyone had, let's say, double damage or gigantic health pools or huge heads, or they just changed some aspect of the game and then said had at it for that weekend, I could see some friends going back just to experience that. Then they may be like, hey, I'll stick around and I'll play Battlefield more often. It's a really, really good idea. The one issue that we do run into, though, is that the reason why this was exclusive to the CTE is that the CTE is much easier to patch and faster to patch than all of the consoles. The reason why the CTE has been on PC almost exclusively so far is that they don't have to go through Microsoft and Sony. Going through Microsoft and Sony takes a couple of weeks, and so if they added in a new patch every week, that probably just wouldn't work. The way that they could get around this, though, is that if they had the forethought, they're like, yeah, we like this idea, they could add in maybe like 5 or 6 different game modes every single patch, have them rotate every weekend, and then they solve that problem. Yeah, I love this idea. I think it's amazing. Just something fun on the side. It actually would bring in kind of mod support, almost sort of. They could also get the community involved. Maybe like, hey, what kind of game mode would you like to see in the upcoming patch? They're not competitive. They're just fun. I really like this idea, so I am on board 100%. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.